Officials in Los Angeles are offering a $10,000 reward for information leading to the capture of the so-called Night Stalker. He's the sadistic killer wanted for a series of murders and rapes.
In the 1980s, the seedy underbelly of LA birthed a monster, the Night Stalker. This fanciful name was given to the creeping killer who terrified the city. On March 1985, Maria Hernandez miraculously survived a gunshot when she came home to discover an intruder. Amazingly, as she shielded her face from the blast with her house keys, she deflected the bullet to save her life. The Night Stalker had been following her on the highway. As she played dead, he moved on to his next victim, a 34-year-old female named Dale Okazaki. He shot her in the head as she cowered behind a kitchen counter. Only 40 minutes later, according to the documentary series Night Stalker: The Hunt for a Serial Killer, another murder took place. A young Asian lady named Tsai Lian Yu was pulled out of her car at gunpoint and shot, seemingly at random. 10 days later, a double murder was uncovered. Someone had crept into an open window and shot a 64-year-old man named Vincent Zazzara, who was asleep on his couch. He then snuck upstairs and forced himself on a 44-year-old woman named Maxine Zazzara. He shot her numerous times and removed her eyes as a trophy. And not only would this phantom creep into your house and take your life away, but far worse, he would steal your children. He snatched a 6-year-old named Anastasia Ronas as she slept in bed. He took her home and did whatever depraved thing he wanted with her, as Madonna played in the background. Strangely and thankfully enough, he let her go. He pulled over to the side of the road and let her get out of the car. Detectives started to piece together that a series of attacks and kidnappings were related to the murders. However, many doubted the theory, as the attacker's MO was so random. He would attack men, women and children using a variety of methods and weapons. In 1985, another violent murder took place. William Doy lost his life at the age of 66 when the Night Stalker shot him. He then violated and beat his wife before fleeing. On May 28th, he broke into the house of two elderly ladies in their 80s and beat them with a hammer. He violated one of the sisters, a disabled woman named Florence Nettie Lang. Both women were left comatose, and the other sister, called Maybelle Bell, died of her injuries. The killer used the sister's lipstick to draw satanic pentagrams on the walls and on a victim's leg. His callousness was also highlighted in his ability to detach from any emotion. It was evident that after the attack, he sat down and had a snack. In June, the killer struck again as 31-year-old Patty Elaine Higgins lay dead. This time he used a knife in brutal fashion. Only 4 days later, there was another death. This time, a 75-year-old woman named Mary Cannon had been murdered. She had also met a violent end at the edge of a knife. On the 5th of July, yet another incident happened. He again switched his weapon of choice by beating a 16-year-old victim with a tire iron. He had slipped into the house using a window. She survived but had major lacerations and skull fractures. Using footprints from crime scenes, they finally realised for certain that this was all connected by the same kidnapper and killer. The Night Stalker again left a footprint outside the house of a potential victim the following night when he opened a window from outside. However, he was spooked and fled. This turned out to be the home of a police officer, and the footprints matched again. From the imprint, they were able to find out which specific shoe he was wearing and gather intel on it, including sales records. Only one single pair of his size and style were sold in the whole of Los Angeles. They also knew he was tall and thin with curly hair, and the clues started to gather. He also narrowly escaped being caught when he was pulled over for a traffic violation whilst fleeing an attempted kidnapping. When the officer went back to his police bike to take the call about said kidnapping, the killer fled on foot and vanished. Before he ran, he left his calling card on the bonnet, a satanic pentagram. Frustratingly, because of miscommunication between different law enforcement jurisdictions, fingerprints were not obtained in time from the car. However, his bloodlust was endless. Shortly after this close escape, a 61-year-old named Joyce Nelson was beaten to death with a blunt object. That same night, he had robbed and sexually assaulted a woman in her own home. On the 20th of July, he struck again. He shot an elderly couple called Max and Leila Needing. He targeted another wife and husband. After shooting the husband, he had again taken the wife against her will. He then violated her 8-year-old son. The woman was able to provide a composite sketch of the suspect, which was circulated by the police. Chris and Virginia Peterson were also shot after the Night Stalker had broken into their home. However, even though Chris was shot in the head, he chased the invader from his house. The killer's MO was made clear in his next attack. He would shoot and kill the husband, named Elias Abowath, quickly before making his way to the female. The female survived after being sexually assaulted. He made her swear to Satan she would be okay.
Men he was killing because they were the obstacle to get to his lust, the women.
Unsurprisingly, Los Angeles was terrified of this mysterious killer. But fear would spread across America as San Francisco became the next target.
California's newest serial killer has reportedly struck in San Francisco. The so-called Night Stalker is blamed for 7 murders in the Los Angeles area. Now, police have linked the killer to a murder in San Francisco last weekend. Police say the only common thread in the killings is the time of day. The Night Stalker apparently picks his victims at random, entering their homes after dark through unlocked doors.
On the 17th of August, another couple was shot inside their home. The oddly named Peter Pan was killed, but his wife survived. Satanic pentagrams were again carved into the walls, but only after he had stopped to eat a quick snack. 1 week later, he would kill another man and take his wife against her will. He told the woman directly that he was the Night Stalker.
A pre-dawn break-in, a male victim shot, the female occupant sexually attacked. It's all too familiar to investigators who say the so-called walk-in killer has struck again. This time farther south in the bedroom community of Mission Viejo, south of Los Angeles. It was almost 3 a.m. Sunday morning. A 29-year-old woman told deputies an intruder shot her boyfriend in the head, then turned on her.
The killer was identified by a police informant who had acquired stolen goods traced back to the Night Stalker. A single police fingerprint retrieved from a stolen vehicle also confirmed his identity. The identity and photograph of the Night Stalker was released to the press by the San Francisco Police Department. The killer obliviously went into a shop in LA and was confused when everyone was staring at him. As he glanced down at a newspaper, his own face looked back at him from the front page. He, Richard Ramirez, was finally unearthed as the Night Stalker. He fled and the police were soon in pursuit. However, it was citizens that finally caught him and tackled him to the ground after he tried to hijack a car.
After being spotted on a bus, Ramirez fled on foot to this East LA neighborhood. He tried to steal a car, and Julio, his father, and others grabbed him, beat him, and held him. Only then did residents realize who Ramirez was.
Richard Ramirez was a sadist who was aroused by the fear of others. He was born in 1960, the fifth-born child of Mexican immigrants in El Paso. Money was tight, but he had a stable family. Childhood friends such as Joe Pinon described him positively as a boy. He was known to be a funny and friendly child. But, according to the documentary series Born to Kill, his behaviour started to change at age 10. He developed seizures and was diagnosed with epilepsy. His older cousin would also brag to him about atrocities he had committed in Vietnam. He showed him gruesome pictures of death and violation. These barbaric images undoubtedly affected the formation of his sexuality and moral compass as his brain was forming around this time. His cousin would later shoot and kill his own wife in front of him, further normalising violence against women. As he got older, he began experimenting with mind-altering substances, heavy rock and Satanism. He even dropped out of school and would sometimes sleep at the cemetery. He then moved to LA and lived on Skid Row, a heavily addicted maniac. He would hone his skills at breaking and entering as a thief, feeding a habit. He discovered that much of middle-class suburbia did not lock their doors or windows. He was a very intelligent and articulate speaker and diligently studied serial killers.
Serial killers do on a small scale what governments do on a large one. They are a product of the times, and these are bloodthirsty times. Even psychopaths have emotions if you dig deep enough, but then again, maybe they don't.
When sent to jail, he was delighted to be in the former cell of the Hillside Strangler. He was also fascinated by Satanism and the concept of evil.
I believe in the evil in human nature. This is a wicked world, and in a wicked world, wicked people are born.
And, much like Ted Bundy, he had a number of female admirers who would hang out at the courthouse like groupies. They would also send him explicit photos, poems, and love letters. This was even more disturbing as Ramirez had also committed heinous crimes against children.
They are the women in black, admirers of Richard Ramirez.
Why were you in the courtroom today?
I just wanted to see what he looked like. I think he's cute.
This woman, who gave her name only as Paige, calls herself a Satanist. She says Ramirez has written letters to her and that she's talked with him in jail.
Everyone makes him look so bad, but I know that he's a nice person because I've met him and I know.
Furthermore, the trial became a circus. Ramirez's lawyers were extremely underexperienced for the case, and their defendant would make outrageous outbursts.
I won't come back in here again, you understand that? This trial is a joke.
The issue of when the defense is going to file
parasites. And the fact remains that what is. You don't understand me. You are not expected to. You are not capable of it. I am beyond your experience. I am beyond good and evil. Legions of the night breed. Repeat not the errors of Night Stalker and show no mercy. I will be avenged. Lucifer dwells within us all. That's it.
He even drew a pentagram on his palm and held it up to the court. He also exclaimed, "Hail Satan," to the shocked audience after pleading not guilty. Admitted he was too.
We are all evil in some form or another. Are we not? Yes, I am.
He was later found guilty of 13 murders and sentenced to death.
Guilty. Guilty on all counts.
However, he is highly suspected to have killed many more. In 2013, he would die on death row of cancer.
Big deal. That's always went with the territories. I'll see you in Disneyland.